So I'm recording this in middle of May 2021, and people are getting excited because the CDC has released some recommendations about when we can stop wearing a mask. The CDC claims it's because of the vaccination. I think that's garbage. I think it's politically convenient for people to not be controlled of having to wear a mask, and all of a sudden, coincidentally, the vaccine was created during this time. And I think it's a convenient announcement. I gotta say I'm a little bit disappointed though, not because I think the mask did anything much for the pandemic, but I really liked wearing it for another reason. I'm very bad at controlling my facial expressions when I'm negotiating, right? So I recently went to some coin shops, bought and sold a few coins. I had some job interviews. And during the pandemic, I asked a few girls out on dates, and I found that if I didn't have to show my facial expression, those things were a whole lot easier. Behind the scenes, I could have been laughing, I could have been cringing. A lot of emotion got left out of the situation, right? I go to the coin dealer, and he throws out a number, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe he wants to sell those coins for so little. And it would have shown on my face, but he didn't see it, and I really felt sort of an advantage from doing that. And I'll probably continue to wear my mask until it starts to become socially unacceptable, right? If you continue to wear your mask up into the Roaring 20s, right, during the Great Depression, I don't think I saw too many people wearing a mask when they were turning in their gold for Federal Reserve notes in 1933, right? I don't seem to remember many masks in that picture, probably not even one, right? So until it becomes really unacceptable I'll probably continue for that reason. Now, I was just reading on my news feed that during the pandemic, a lot of stores that used to open 24 hours shortened their hours to do a lot of cleaning, and how that might be hard to go back to 24 hours. I don't mind it. I really liked not being able to go out 24 hours a day, because I used to be very dependent on that. I would get a food craving, get the munchies at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would go out. I had a girlfriend at one time, and we were living in New York City, and I went out at 2 in the morning, and my girlfriend was just very worried for me, and she didn't seem to understand the gravity of the kind of craving I was having. And major disagreement for that. She was worried for my safety more than anything else. It turned out a few years later, she got pregnant with some other guy, and now she was doing it. And she said, "You remember when you used to go out at 2 in the morning?" And so she got a little bit of an understanding of that. But that's the kind of behavior I used to have. Now that we can't go out 24/7, I have to do a lot more planning ahead of time. It feels like it puts a little bit of a structure into my life. I used to be all over the place, and difficulty sleeping, and all. I've been sleeping a whole lot better during the pandemic, because when I get the munchies at 2 in the morning, I tell myself I might as well go to sleep so that I can get it in the morning, or I might even dream about the food that I want at night, right? And that's been how I've been operating, and so it is very nice. Another thing I'm going to miss about the pandemic life is that our internet connections are working a whole lot better, because people are making sure to take care of that. Here in Seattle, where I am right now, a lot of the big internet service providers, especially Xfinity, they've opened up their Wi-Fi to the public. And I can't think of a time I've been without connectivity over the last year. You see, I used to panic. I would go somewhere, I would expect there to be internet connection, the internet would go out, and it almost feels like you couldn't breathe. I don't know if that's an addiction of some sort, but at least some kind of dependence, right? I go to a busy place, and I want to brag about my YouTube channel, and oh, there's no internet. And just huge gap in my continuity of the day, if you will. Not a very good habit to have, I guess, but unfortunately that's the world we live in. I do hope to kind of relax. I am relaxing that habit quite a bit. I do leave my electronics behind more often now when I go out. I used to carry my stuff everywhere I went. Okay, another thing I really love is that good health is at the forefront of people's minds right now, right? So in this past year, if you tried to quit smoking, or don't try, actually quit smoking, or you were normalizing your relationship with food, getting over your fear of loud environments, what else? Or washing your hands when you should, or taking care of your oral hygiene, or whatever it is, right? There was more acceptance of doing that, right? People used to hate, especially if you were quitting smoking in an environment where lots of people smoked, right? Or you were quitting drinking and you couldn't go out with your friends. People used to be very upset about that, right? It doesn't seem like that much of a barrier anymore, right? 2 years ago, I had a little bit of a problem. I talked about this in a previous video. I had gone to a grocery store on a Friday or a Saturday night. I was going to get a pack of condoms. And I was going through the self-checkout lane because I didn't want the cashier to see what I was buying. I had a crush on that cashier, and I didn't want her to see I was buying condoms to use on somebody else. So I lined up for the self-checkout machine, and I get to the front of that line. So I was the next person to go up to the next machine, and the cashier goes, "Sir, I can help you." And I ignored her, and she was very persistent about that. And I ended up putting down everything and getting out of the store and going somewhere else to get the condoms. And I was pretty upset about that. I complained to the store, and they said that this was a training matter. To their credit, I've never had another cashier try to interrupt me when I line up for self-checkout, whatever I'm buying, but it was unpleasant. And I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm lucky that I'm very insistent on getting the condoms. Not everybody would have done that, right? And her actions could have been damaging to somebody. Let's put it that way. And but this was 2019. I bet today, if the same thing happened and I complained, the store would be a lot more heavy-handed on policies on how to handle situations like that, right? Because good health, especially hygiene like that, right, or especially disease prevention is just at the forefront of everybody's mind. I hope it stays that way a little bit longer, although, like I said earlier in the video, I don't seem to remember anybody wearing a mask in 1933, which was only, well, 15 years later. I'm not sure if I would forget something 15 years later, right? We still remember 9/11. We still have airport security. I don't know. History will have to tell us.